I had no idea what was going on.
Vanessa Williams has had a lot of success in her career, but somehow that success seems to be avoiding Vanessa when it comes to her marriages. Just recently, it came out that she secretly divorced Jim Scripp, her husband of 6 years, and you're not going to believe how it went. Even though the news of Vanessa's third divorce only just became public knowledge, it turns out that almost everyone is late to the party. Apparently, the divorce didn't happen recently at all. Vanessa revealed that she and Jim have been divorced since 2021, and not only did they get a divorce, but they also kept it under wraps until July 2024. Now, everyone knows that Vanessa likes keeping her private life away from the public eye, so no one really knows the details of what goes on in Vanessa's household, apart from some general things that she can't keep hidden. And Vanessa has been able to hide a lot, because even with the news of her divorce circulating, no one seems to know why their marriage ended in the first place. That's apart from Vanessa, Jim, and their family, of course. Besides the family, no one knows why the third time wasn't the charm for Vanessa. But this hasn't stopped people from speculating. One theory is that infidelity was the main reason why the divorce happened, which would make a lot of sense since this wouldn't be the first time Vanessa has struggled with a case of infidelity in her marriage. It happened with her first husband, which eventually led to their divorce 10 years after they got married. So if this theory is true, and it happened again, it might be why Vanessa kept it out of the media for as long as she did. Maybe she wanted to avoid being at the center of a scandal like this, especially since she wouldn't want a repeat of what happened after her first marriage. Then again, the reason for the divorce could also be that her marriage was playing third fiddle. It seemed to come third after her children and her career. Vanessa even admitted that this happened in her previous marriages. And according to Glamour, it was also a big reason for her previous divorce. From the looks of things, it might be what happened again. Vanessa obviously takes her career very seriously. When she told People that she was no longer married to Jim, she was in the middle of a project at the time. Even though no one knows why they got divorced, apparently the divorce was amicable. I mean, if it hadn't been, it would have probably become public knowledge much sooner than it did. And even though Vanessa finally announced that she's no longer with Jim, he still hasn't really come out to say anything about the divorce at all. And it doesn't look like he will be sharing any details anytime soon. Then again, there might be nothing to say if it ended amicably and 3 years ago too. But even though it ended amicably, that doesn't really help with the shock of finding out about the divorce. Let's be honest. When Jim and Vanessa started going out in 2012, no one thought it would end in a divorce. The two of them met a long way from home, in Egypt. They were both on vacation and on a cruise ship on the Nile River when the tour guides sat Vanessa next to Jim. After that, things got off to an interesting start because Vanessa brought her daughter on the cruise with her. And according to Vanessa, she was pretty sure that Jim wouldn't actually speak to her because her daughter was around. Jim, on the other hand, happened to be traveling alone at the time. So Vanessa started a conversation with him. And it didn't take long before they found out that they had quite a few things in common. For example, Jim was from Buffalo, New York, and Vanessa's mom was also from Buffalo. In fact, that was how Vanessa started the conversation with Jim. At the time, Jim was wearing a Buffalo Sabres shirt. So Vanessa asked him if he was from Buffalo and told him that her mom was raised in Buffalo. After that, it didn't take long before they decided to meet later for a date. And it turns out that they made the right decision because for their first date, they spent over 3 hours just getting to know each other. By the end of the date, they discovered that they had even more in common than they thought. According to Vanessa, they connected on an emotional level. Jim also knew who she was as far as her career was concerned, but he wasn't a super fan or anything like that and was interested in actually getting to know Vanessa. According to Vanessa and Jim, there was almost an instant connection between them. It was almost as if fate had brought them together with the tour guide putting them next to each other. Even when they went back to the U.S., Jim and Vanessa kept in touch, and before anyone knew what was going on, they were in a serious relationship. They eventually went public with their relationship, and whenever they talked about each other, it was so obvious how in love they were. Some months later, Jim and Vanessa decided to get engaged. This was in 2014. Then, in 2015, they finally tied the knot. The ceremony happened in Buffalo, New York, which played almost as big as a role as Egypt in bringing them together. Vanessa told People that her engagement ring was done by a jeweler named Bomi from Buffalo. And the cherry on top was that Jim had designed the engagement ring himself. But this didn't stop the two of them from also including Egypt in their special moment. They actually had an Egyptian-themed wedding, and the venue was decorated to give that look. And according to Vanessa, she felt like an Egyptian goddess in her wedding dress. But this was just one part of Jim and Vanessa's wedding. A year later, they decided to have another wedding. Although this time, it was a Catholic wedding. And they were doing it a year later because when they had their first wedding, Jim's first marriage was not yet annulled. It turns out that Vanessa was not the only one who had been married before. anymore. So they decided to have a more traditional Catholic wedding after the annulment. And for a long time after that, everyone thought that everything was rosy between Jim and Vanessa. But it turns out that they had actually called it quits back in 2021. Now it seems like Vanessa has moved on from the divorce and is focusing on her work. It doesn't look like she is seeing anyone new or is in a hurry to find someone new. For now, she was pouring all of that love into her craft, and there's no doubt it'll pay off. But despite everything that has happened to Vanessa, it looks like she still believes the things she said back in 2019. Back then, she stated that she didn't regret any of her marriages. If anything, she'd been married to good men, and all of them had brought her happiness in different aspects of her life. She also said that what guided her in marriage was using her parents' marriage as a template, and added that before getting married, it's very important to be sure about who you're getting married to. According to Vanessa, she thinks that women marry based on expectations and what the future holds, while men marry based on the woman they see in front of them at the moment. Also, the dating scene is a little bit trickier to navigate when you become a mom, because now you're not the only one involved. So you need to be sure about who you're seeing and if they will fit into your life. Despite everything that has happened to Vanessa as far as marriages are concerned, it looks like she still has a positive outlook on relationships and marriages. But what do you guys think about all this? Are you surprised that she and Jim got divorced a few years ago? And do you think Vanessa might get married again sometime in the future? Let me know in the comments below.